we've had a lot of scenarios where clients maybe have outgrown a space a lot faster than they thought. And so they need to get out of a lease. Or we've had scenarios where people weren't coming in. Certainly during the pandemic, we've had more of that where people just aren't coming and they want to get out of a lease. We have scenarios where they're not happy with the landlord's response to issues, things that aren't working or that are breaking, or HVAC goes down. And then, we've had scenarios where there's just been safety issues. People don't feel comfortable or safe in their space. So it's going to vary state by state. But number one, if you don't have a lease expiration coming, there are reasons that you can get out of a lease without any repercussions. And the reason why I say it depends state by state, because if the landlord does take it to court, right? Assuming you don't have a personal guarantee on your lease, you just have a security deposit. In theory, your liability should be landlord keeps your security deposit and you're gone. But you have to have reasons for why you're leaving, and you can't just say people aren't coming into the office. You have to have a something that interrupts your right to quiet enjoyment as a tenant. In other words, your right to occupy this space and get your work done. So a few of those reasons would be you don't feel safe, or the landlord's not providing comfortable conditions like heating in the winter or air conditioning in the summer. And so in this cases, we've had a decent reason. There's been 100% landlords do not go after the tenant because they know they're going to lose. In a state like Illinois, that's very liberal. It has judges that are going to favor the little guy, the business owner, over the big guy, the landlord. But essentially, in those scenarios, even if you don't just walk away from your lease, you always have the ability to sublease your space, which you will then generate some sort of recovery, right? If you're paying $30 a foot, you might sublease it at $25, but you're still getting $25 a foot back. Another thing we've taken advantage of has been rights to terminate. That's another thing that a good broker will put in, a right to terminate. Lazy brokers, bad brokers will not, because landlords hate it. The reason why they hate it is several reasons. Number one, and the biggest reason, is that a lender will only value that lease up until the right to terminate. They won't value anything past that right to terminate. So if you're looking to refinance or sell the property, you can only value that lease up to the right to terminate. But where it really comes in extremely valuable for the tenants is it's like a right of flexibility. You can use that right to terminate to renegotiate an extension. You can use that right to terminate if you've outgrown or are too small for the space. You can vacate and move somewhere. Oftentimes, a new landlord, especially if you're growing and need more space, a new landlord will pay and cover that the termination penalty, the fee to terminate your lease. A new landlord will pay for. So there's a lot of great advantages for a tenant to have it. Firms like Tenant Advisory Group will fight tooth and nail to get that right to terminate because we know how valuable it is in the future. Whereas other brokers, they oftentimes don't even try to get it because they know the landlords don't want it. So getting out of your lease, there's a lot of different ways to do it. Sometimes it is just walking away, and you do take a risk that the landlord will come after you. But more often than not, especially in a state like Illinois, blue states like Illinois, it's going to be very, very difficult for a landlord to win that court case, and they know it, which is why they don't go after you. In Illinois, it's very, very rare. I mean, if you're GE or Microsoft or IBM or a very well-capitalized large company, and you have 5 years left and $10 million left in value, and you just say, I'm leaving, the landlord's going to go after you because they know they can get it. But if you're a small tenant with no personal guarantee and you cite some reasonable factors like the air conditioning was out in the middle of the summer for 3 weeks, or the elevator isn't working half the time, or we don't feel safe here, and you've got that stuff documented, the landlord, there's nothing that's part of the risk of being a landlord. Is you have to provide a safe and comfortable place for your tenants to work. That's what you're promising as a landlord to the tenants. And if you fail to do that, they have grounds to terminate the lease, to walk away.